The moment Victoria announced that my department was an unnecessary expense during the quarterly review, I knew my time at Nexus Logistics was over. We were only a few minutes into the Monday morning meeting when she casually dismantled everything I had spent years building. She smiled from the remote office screen with a look of pure arrogance that she mistook for executive brilliance. Her voice carried that fake corporate kindness that always hides a threat. Victoria pulled up a presentation slide outlining new mandatory guidelines for all team collaboration starting the following week. She demanded that everyone return to the physical office full-time without any prior discussion or employee input. My custom routing program had doubled our delivery efficiency over the last 3 quarters while I worked quietly from my home basement. Now visibility suddenly mattered much more than actual operational success or exceptional data metrics. The worst part came when Victoria mandated that all early prototypes and source codes must be uploaded immediately to a shared network directory. She claimed her corporate office would audit these origin points to consolidate company ownership. That was the exact moment I realized this new policy was designed to steal my independent intellectual property. She was an outside executive who brought nothing to the table except a massive drive for unearned credit. I unmuted my microphone and calmly asked if this directory requirement applied to software engineered entirely outside of official working hours. Victoria laughed out loud and stated that the company assumed ownership of any technical solution relevant to our operational growth. She told me to resign if I did not like the new structural policies. The entire conference call went completely silent as my colleagues watched the interaction unfold. I thanked her for the clarity, shut my computer, and disconnected my monitors before walking out of the building. My promising mentee Paige followed me to the lobby elevator with a look of absolute panic on her face. I told her to stay calm and simply observe the situation before I stepped inside. There were no tears or angry outbursts because I already possessed a far better strategy hidden in my vehicle. Inside my car trunk sat a sealed envelope addressed directly to the General Counsel of Nexus Logistics containing pristine documentation of my independent work. I had engineered this autonomous supply chain system on my own personal equipment using my own financial resources over many weekends. My digital trails were so immaculate that no corporate lawyer could ever challenge my legal claim. They expected me to surrender like a defeated employee, but I built this trap years ago. I left behind the company hardware and drove straight to a quiet local office space to finalize my legal filings. A reliable notary named Greg confirmed my identity and stamped the final paperwork without asking unnecessary questions. We uploaded the entire source code into an encrypted database system that I had established a month prior. 3 provisional patent applications were formally logged under my legal name covering my unique code patterns. My hidden code contained an invisible back-end logic structure that I called the Phantom Protocol, which optimized vehicle pathways silently. Victoria needed this exact framework to launch a major upcoming corporate project, but she had no idea I held the rights. I utilized public open source libraries and recorded every step from the initial sketches to the final functional modules. My close colleague Julian had signed off as an independent third-party witness during our monthly reviews. An attorney named Clara checked every single clause of my employment agreement to ensure my legal safety. Victoria soon announced that Nexus Logistics would debut a groundbreaking new tool called Project Vanguard at a massive regional technology convention. I realized they were attempting to compile my proprietary code architecture without understanding that they were stepping into a massive legal trap. Their upcoming public presentation was built entirely on stolen engineering foundations. The development team started working late nights to prepare the software, but they quickly encountered massive architectural gaps. A junior developer named Quinton noticed that the primary routing modules predated the company repository by several months. Victoria ignored his written warnings and ordered the staff to proceed regardless because the marketing deadline was approaching. She did not realize that I had removed the critical foundational logic before my swift departure. On a Monday morning, Clara delivered a formal cease and desist order straight to the inbox of the legal department. The extensive document detailed every single instance of intellectual property infringement within Project Vanguard with extreme precision. It included clear timestamps and matching code comparisons that proved my absolute ownership of the system. The corporate legal team immediately shifted from complete indifference to a state of absolute panic. The General Counsel summoned Victoria into an urgent meeting where she foolishly claimed that provisional filings held no real legal power. Her ignorance was short-lived because a secondary confirmation arrived from the official patent office validating my claims. Continued public demonstration of my technology would now result in massive financial penalties for willful infringement. Internal rumors began spreading through the office chat channels as engineering access was restricted. Victoria arrived at the technology convention determined to proceed with the launch despite the clear legal warnings. She walked onto the main presentation stage to reveal Project Vanguard to a room full of eager investors and journalists. The digital map loaded successfully on the big screen for a few brief moments before the system encountered an unhandled exception error. The entire automated routing network collapsed because the core logic files were missing. The presentation screen froze completely as the software failed to resolve the essential data pathways. A contractor standing near the presentation booth admitted loudly that they could not legally utilize the original programming code due to an active ownership dispute. Victoria stood motionless on the stage trying to explain away the massive failure while the audience watched in complete silence. Her carefully manufactured corporate reputation shattered in front of the entire industry. The following morning, the executive board gathered for an emergency session to address the unfolding legal catastrophe. Clara entered the boardroom and placed a comprehensive file of our undeniable evidence directly onto the table. She played an audio recording of Victoria telling me to resign while bragging that the company automatically owned my work. The board members stared at Victoria in grim silence as they realized the extent of her incompetence. The executives voted unanimously to cancel Project Vanguard permanently to avoid a costly public lawsuit. They instantly terminated all of the system privileges and corporate building access associated with Victoria. A formal internal memo was distributed acknowledging that the core intellectual property belonged exclusively to me. An independent technology publication published the entire story online before the afternoon concluded, making my inbox explode with messages. Several competing companies reached out to offer me prominent leadership roles within days of the article going live. I accepted a position as the chief patent officer at an advanced organization called Omnitech Labs. They welcomed me into a beautiful glass office because they respected my technical foresight and strategic protection of assets. My first task was creating a secure protocol to ensure no engineer faced exploitation again. Meanwhile, the remaining developers at Nexus Logistics tried to launch a weaker software alternative, but failed immediately. The underlying framework kept triggering authentication errors because my personal patent headers protected the deep code dependencies. They finally understood that a company cannot easily replace the quiet creators who build the actual systems. True innovation requires absolute protection, and I finally achieved the recognition that I deserved on my own terms.